Oh, no. Oh, there it is. Hi, everybody. We are going to go ahead and get started. I just wanted to take a moment to introduce myself and welcome you all to the breakout session today. My name is Caitlin Reimnitz. I am with the Department of Social Services, Division of Behavioral Health, and I am the Crisis Services Program Specialist. I just wanted to briefly introduce the Peer Helpers program. So in 2021, the Division of Behavioral Health was awarded the Mental Health Awareness Training Grant, and we have put a large emphasis on the Peer Helpers program, in which Stephanie is going to go over in more detail today. And on that note, I will go ahead and pass it on to you.
Hello, yes, thank you, Caitlin. My name is Stephanie Conander. I'm the prevention specialist with the Northeast Prevention Resource Center. I'm located at the Human Service Agency in Watertown. There are 3 PRCs across the state, and so we did all work together with the Division of Behavioral Health to bring natural helpers, kind of revitalize the natural helpers program that was already running through the state. We were able to, with the funding through DSS, take our natural helpers program and really kind of expand it. Oh, thank you very much. Expand it through the National Association of Peer Program Professionals, or NAP. So it now is a certified peer program through NAP. And that's one thing that we really have spent some time working on. And we did just start creating the training of trainers for the program that we'll be offering this summer. So why did we bring in this peer program? In South Dakota, prevention professionals across the state really do have that strong interest in adding evidence-based peer helping programs to our communities. And there are a few reasons. First of all, we have seen increased suicide rates among our young people. South Dakota has identified 10 counties that are currently over the 10-year average for suicide. And when we dig a little deeper into that data, we do see that the youth rates are much higher within our state. South Dakota has also spent an extensive amount of time promoting substance abuse prevention. In 2019, Governor Noem announced an initiative to promote drug education in middle schools. And so we are seeing that being implemented, but there is much more that we can be doing. So that brings us to our peer program. To see a reduction in substance use and suicidal thoughts and behaviors, peer helping programs aim to increase protective factors among our young people in schools so that they can achieve that social success. The mission of our program is really just to contribute to that safe and supportive school environment by training peers to help friends in need and refer to a trusted adult when needed. Within our schools, we are already seeing that internet connection of our young people. There's already that helping resource happening. So really with these peer programs, we are just looking to help provide that peer-to-peer skill building for our young people so that they're better able to handle the situations that they might encounter and kind of realize when to refer on to those adults and who those referrals might be. So training for peer helpers. Like I said, there are a few options when it does come to training, entering into the Natural Helpers program. First of all, any of the PRCs could come to your school and provide this resource and this training to your students. Otherwise, like I mentioned, we do have a training of trainers where school staff or community members could come to a training of trainers to bring this back to their community. We are offering one in Pierre here this summer. Otherwise, this fall we'll be offering one in Watertown and Rapid City. So some of the things that we do teach in this peer helper program is what kind of qualities do you look for in a friend, right? What kind of qualities do we want in a friend? How are we looking for someone that when we need to talk to someone about something, how are we going about doing that? And really showcasing these young people that they are good natural helpers. We also want to teach listening, right? We all know how to listen and what qualities it takes to be a good listener, but we really want to make sure that we're also touching base on how to listen non-judgmentally. These kids can be encountering things that maybe they do have a little bias on, so how do we help a young person without being judgmental towards how they're feeling? Within the training, we also take a look at school concerns that they might have. We just really want to get a base for what is going on in the school that we should be concerned about. A lot of times they'll talk about vaping, safe driving, alcohol use, depression. School lunches usually comes up in that. But really we just want to brainstorm so that not only the advisors but also the students can kind of get an understanding for what are the areas of concern in their school. Then we look at finding out what type of things to look for when someone is needing help, right? A lot of times our friends will come to us, but what things should I be looking for me to reach out? What are some of those physical things that I can notice? Those behavioral things, what might we hear our classmates talking about, or feelings that they're sharing with their classmates that we'd want to reach out to them to get help. And then we focus on that helping skill. What is that helping skill? How do we help our friends to avoid problems? Help friends through work problems? How do we give our friends support? We really work through that helping skill of planning what to say, deciding on what good time and place to say it, stating our concerns, identifying the problem, and really just helping them maybe realize what supports are out there, especially if it is beyond our control or beyond our ability to help. We also spend a lot of time talking about confidentiality because it is important that a young person knows if I'm going to go to my friend to ask them for help, that it is going to stay between me and my friend. But it's also teaching these young people and when that confidentiality stops and who does that confidentiality stop with. So really, confidentiality stops when the young person is talking about suicide, an eating disorder, abuse, chemical dependency, running away, right? Pregnancy, violence. That's when we really want to make the young people know that that's when we automatically need to refer out and get an adult involved because they are beyond what a teenager should be helping their friends through. And like I said, how to give those referrals, who to give those referrals to. We do some brainstorming of who in our community do we know about that we can provide those referrals to, who in our school do we know that we can provide those referrals to, and then we do share additional information that maybe the students didn't know about that they had. So really just letting them know that there are additional resources out there beyond themselves. And throughout the training, we do talk about the importance of team building and teamwork because it isn't one young person's job to do it alone, really just that collaborative effort. So we do ask that we have staff to help oversee the program. Typically, we see school counselors or other school staff members doing that and identifying those trusted adults within the school. We do provide follow-up training to staff and also the young people that are going through the training, just so that we can continually give them the resources that they might need. And finally, evaluation. We do want to make sure that we're getting an understanding of what impact this program is making. So we do pre-tests and post-tests just to measure that knowledge, the skills, abilities, but also to evaluate the quality of our training, but also us as trainers. We do also ask the schools to use 2 surveys to evaluate the program throughout the year. How much are these young people being sought after to provide the skill that they're being taught in this program? So we just want to keep track of how many referrals are being made and how many contacts our young people are making to make sure that this program is making a difference in the communities. Like I said, there are 3 prevention resource centers, and any one of us are able to provide this training. So myself and my coordinator, Dodie Haug at the NEPRC in Watertown, Bill Elliger or Chloe Adkins in Rapid City, or Carrie Cox here in Sioux Falls. We can all definitely be a resource for you with this program. So thank you.
All right. Nice to see you all today. My name is Susan Kroger. I'm the Director of Programs with an organization called Lost and Found. Lost and Found is an organization that's been in South Dakota since 2010. However, a lot of people don't know we exist because the bulk of our work has happened since the pandemic. So in the last 3 years, we've gone from having 3 staff to 15 staff. And along with that has come a lot of growth in our student program offerings. One of those programs that we have on campuses, college campuses across South Dakota, is our peer-to-peer mentoring program. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that program today. So first, a little bit of background on Lost and Found. We are a Sioux Falls-based nonprofit. We have an office right here in downtown Sioux Falls, just a few blocks from here, but we do have a presence across the state. We work specifically with post-secondary institutions on offering mental health services and suicide prevention to college students. We also do have a presence in Minnesota at the University of Minnesota Twin Cities. We're working on actually growing that presence in Minnesota. There's a lot of need on campuses for students to receive support for mental health and suicide prevention, and so we're trying to meet that need as rapidly as we can. We have 4 main buckets of work at Lost and Found, and I have the pleasure of overseeing the majority of that work. One is our student-facing programs, of which the peer-to-peer mentoring program is one. We also have our education and advocacy department, and so we're able to go into the community and onto campuses and offer education of all sorts related to mental health, whether that's crisis management or time management or stress management, relationship skills, anything that younger, that usually 18 to 25-year-old set of folks would need as they're transitioning into college life. We also have an evaluation and research department. So everything we do at Lost and Found is evidence-based. We do a lot of research before we implement new programming on any campus. I'm one of those weirdos who likes both people and numbers, and so we have a pretty, we lean pretty hard into making sure that we have a comprehensive evaluation in place along with any program that we do. And then last but not least, we've recently started doing some post-vention work. So we recently acquired a nonprofit called Survivors Joining for Hope, which offers financial resources to families who have lost loved ones to suicide. If you know of anyone who's looking for resources to help pay for funeral expenses or any other emergent needs as part of a suicide loss, feel free to reach out to us. We do have a table out here with our cards. We do offer direct financial assistance to folks who are looking for that. We also work with campuses in the post-vention space by offering policy creation. We do training following a suicide loss on campuses for staff, faculty, and students. And then we're also able to be on campus as a support once a suicide loss has taken place on campus. You can find all of our information at our website at resilienttoday.org. A little bit about our impact. This is just since 2020. 400 young adults we've been able to train for mental health mentorship and community leadership roles. 5.1 million people engaged through our digital mental health resources and content. So we're a youth-facing group, therefore we're pretty savvy on social media. Most of our staff are a lot younger than me, and so they're really good at social media. One of our programs I'm most proud of is called 30stories.org, a 30 Days, 30 Stories campaign. You can find us at 30stories.org. We hold that during the month of September, during Suicide Prevention Month, where we ask people to share their own stories of mental health. Most of those people are young people across the state. And then we take those stories and then we share them via video on our Instagram, on blogs, so that people know they're not alone. And people can hopefully find someone they relate to and then also find resources if they happen to be struggling. So a lot of that reach is part of that program. Research, evaluation, and policy services I mentioned, those impacts are across the state. And then the last thing I'll mention briefly, because everyone always asks me about it, we have a tool called the Campus Resilience Index, which is based on the 7 suicide prevention strategies from the CDC. It's an evaluation tool that campuses can use to assess their both protective factors and suicide prevention policies and procedures that they have in place. So we've been working with schools, carefully with schools across the state to assess their capacity for suicide prevention and for protective measures for students, and then also offer both secondary data and then suggestions for improvements in those areas. So that's a little bit about Lost and Found in general. Now, the peer mentorship program, I'm actually not the person who should be talking to you about this. The person who should be talking to you about this is named Carrie Jorgensen. She's on vacation right now. She is really the author of this program. So she's a former campus counselor at South Dakota State and served as one of our advisors for our SDSU student chapter for several years before coming on staff with us. And some of the questions she asked prior to us creating this program were, what would it look like if students came into our office maybe students who weren't necessarily in crisis or who had a mental health diagnosis, but students who were maybe just working on transitioning to college and were struggling a bit. What would happen if we had a group of students who those folks could talk to? What would happen if we had a system where students could be matched to one another and so those transitioning students could receive support? Would they be able to stay in school? Would they feel more welcomed? Would they become more involved? And so those were the questions that really sparked a conversation around the need for this program. So the need for this program is pretty simple. It came from having conversations with campus counseling centers across the state and finding that most students were waiting up to a month to be seen by a counselor on campus. So we know there's a high need for students to receive mental health services. And we also know that everyone, right, is desperately trying to meet the need for mental health services across the state. And so we also know the research shows that peer-based work is effective. And so we wanted to find out how to effectively do that in the post-secondary realm. And so 2.5 years ago, we piloted the peer-to-peer mentoring program at South Dakota State University. So some of the things that students reported that led to this program being created: boredom, lonely, isolation, unsure of how to start conversations, how to maintain relationships, how to get plugged into their campus communities, and then also feeling uncomfortable attending events alone. So I feel isolated. I don't want to go to this football game alone. I don't want to go to this movie alone. Are there other people who I can be connected to and do this with? And so we also noticed, and this is definitely at the height of COVID as well, students are going home on the weekends. Students are really struggling just with feelings of depression and loneliness. And also an increased, like I mentioned, an increased number of students seeking counseling services. And so we decided to, after talks with administration at several different universities, we decided to pilot the peer-to-peer mentorship program, like I said, at SDSU. And so this is a snapshot of what the program looks like. Basically what we do is we train, they're usually upperclassmen or graduate students. A lot of them are people going into helping fields. A lot of them are pre-med or social work majors or sociology majors, and they want to learn how to support their fellow students and learn some of those soft skills that they'll be able to take into the workplace. And so we match those folks with students who are maybe more vulnerable, maybe part of a historically marginalized population, or students who are just coming to the counseling center, are going to their resident advisor and saying, I need support, I'm lonely, can you connect me? And we connect them. And so they meet about once a week. We do have a requirement of them meeting at least 8 times throughout the semester. We also have staff. This is a heavily staffed program because we want to make sure the students all have the support they need. So we do have some sort of staff presence on every campus where we have this program. So that looks either like a graduate assistant in a social work field or counseling field, or a fully trained master's level staff worker who then meets with those mentors. The mentors and mentees can work together to create a plan. They can set goals around socialization, around academics, around their own mental health, and then they work together to meet those goals as a group. We also do a lot of connecting to campus resources. So when those mentees come to us, they're often seeking out, a lot of them are new to school and seeking out resources, and so we're able to help connect those students to resources as needed. And our hope is that this program helps reduce stigma, creates a positive mental health culture at participating campuses, and we're starting to see that. I can show you a few numbers here. So to give you an idea of where P2P was in this last year, we've quickly expanded to schools both on the east and west side of the state. We've also ventured into the tech school space. We're working closely with Western Dakota Technical College. I am the most excited about that work. It's a different student population than we're used to working with, and it's a different support network on campus for students. And so we're seeing a lot of, I think, impacts there on campus, and we're also in the process of adapting the program for the tech school space as well. And so to give you an idea of what our partnership usually looks like with campuses, so there's a list of everything Lost and Found does. We do the bulk of the creation of materials. We train the mentors. We work closely with the mentor and mentee pairs. We do provide QPR certification for all of our mentors in the program. And then we do matching and biweekly advising. We do ask our on-campus staff, advisors with the program, and also just interested folks. We work really closely with student services, usually on campuses. And once we've got a semester under our belt and they say how enthusiastic students are about this program, they're usually pretty excited to help us promote the program, to get the students who need the help to us, and to help us recruit mentors as well. So the students in the program, we see this as a program that benefits both mentors and mentees, and the data is showing that that is indeed the case. We have mentors who are able to gain training and experience in those life skills and a lot of those soft skills. They get the QPR training. We do have a list of expectations we have with them. We know that students are very, very busy. Most students have at least a job, if not multiple jobs, and these are volunteer positions, and so we are careful about our expectations of these mentors. We do have data that we collect. Like I said, we have a pretty thorough evaluation system in place. And then we do require them to attend those biweekly check-in meetings with us so we can make sure they're getting the support that they need. And then mentees obviously have an opportunity to connect with that trained mentor. They provide that listening ear. They can get support navigating campus life, gain skills, and then most importantly, develop a sense of belonging on campus. So so once a month we hold at each campus where we have this program, we hold a group activity where all mentor and mentee pairs can come together and do something like bowling or go to a football game or something like that. Far and away, that is our biggest request from students at the end of the semester is we want more of that. Put us together, like let us do events together, let us be together and build community. That has been the most healing part of this program for me. And so we're working to do more and more of that for students. And then pairing mentors and mentees, we pair them based on their field of study, their hobbies, interests, any community affiliations. Though we have a loose structure for the peer-to-peer program, it actually looks differently on each campus. We know that every campus has a different network in terms of student mental health care, and we want to make sure our program fits within that context. And so we work really carefully with each campus to make sure it's a program that will be impactful. Therefore, it looks differently everywhere. So there are some campuses where we're developing an athletics-specific peer-to-peer mentoring program or an LGBTQ+ specific mentoring program. There are some campuses where we work really closely with residence life and other campuses where we work really closely with campus counseling centers. It just really depends on what the need is, what administration has identified as the need on each campus, and where most students are willing to come to us. So recruitment happens in a lot of different ways. We go into a lot of 101 courses to talk about the program, invite students to participate. We're at orientations, we're at career fairs, all of that good stuff. We do mentor training. I'll go through these pretty quickly. I think I'm running out of time here. We do mentor training. We do a 3-hour training session with our mentors. That's pretty comprehensive. We want to make sure mentors feel prepared to do this work, even though they will receive ongoing support. And part of that 3-hour training does include crisis management and intervention as needed. And then we do require all of our mentors to go through QPR as well. We have an emergency protocol that's unique to each campus. We think, again, it's important to have that in place. We have only had to use it a few times, but that protocol is unique to the campus and students are thoroughly trained in how to use it. So a little bit about what we've heard from students on this program. So we've seen significant gains in resiliency scores that we've offered and protective measures. But then my favorite part, of course, is the mentee feedback we receive. So far, so good. We're hearing good things about this program. We're making tweaks as we go. This program is very new, and so we know that it's going to take a few years before we really find our sweet spot and are able to offer something comprehensive. But so far, we're hearing lots of good things from students, and we're really excited about that. So expansion and applicability, we're in talks with Augie, Northern, Dakota Wesleyan, and U of M on expanding to each of those campuses. That, again, looks differently on each campus. We're also looking at the tech school space and beginning those conversations to see if we can have more of a presence there. But we're excited. So far, like I said, so far so good, and we're seeing a lot of positive momentum with this program, and so we're planning to continue. We are also thinking about other applications for this program. So right now we're in talks with folks who are in the HR community mental health space about how some of this work can be translated to that realm. Of course, there are also already really good high school mentoring programs in place, and so we're learning about those curriculum and taking as many lessons as we can from that as well. And that's all I have. I'll invite Stephanie back up so we can both answer questions.
Any questions? We're on line 2.
I'll say I did bring some resources. If you're interested in natural helpers or the TOT, please just stop by and I will get you some information.
If there are no questions, thank you very much.